The American Bowling Congress has held the ABC tournament. In 1951 came the Masters. 85 years later, more than 110,000 will be divided. Today's winner will take home just under $44,000, this beautiful trophy, and the pride of winning one of pro bowling's most prestigious championships. ESPN, the Total Sports Network, presents professional bowling. From the Cashman Field Center in Las Vegas, Nevada, it's the ABC Bud Light Masters. Today's telecast is brought to you by Bud Light, the light beer with the first name in taste. Everything else is just alike. A very good crowd on hand here in Las Vegas, Nevada for our ABC event today. And welcome, everyone. This is Tim Brando, and what an outstanding field of five we have. I'm joined by the three-time Firestone bowling champion, Mike Durbin. And Mike, I know that the difference in this tournament from most of the pro bowling tours is that of qualifying, the qualifying rounds.
That's right, Tim. Our qualifying is quite different in this tournament. We start off at the beginning of the week with 480 entries. They bowl 10 qualifying games over a 2-day period. Then they cut the field to the top 64. These 64 then bowl match games, and it's a 4-game match game in a prearranged schedule. A lot of the bowlers really don't like it because they think it puts a lot of emphasis on the luck of the draw, but I've always enjoyed the ABC Masters because you can get locked into a pair of lanes on 4 games and defeat that opponent. The 5 bowlers we have today are the ones that have had that good draw, but they've also been able to perform and win those matches.
Mike, our top qualifier is Mark Fay, but we also have Marshall Holman, who's had an outstanding year, and an amateur among the 5.
The amateur is Jovito Buenrostro, if I can get it right there. And he may make all these pros sit up and take notice. The man to beat today is Mark Fay. Mark is in that #1 position. He's undefeated in the winner's bracket here. And Mark in 1983 seemed destined for stardom. He won the Miller High Life tournament in Milwaukee. And then in 1984, in Tucson, Arizona, he needed 7 pins on his last ball to lock up his second title. He got 5, and his opponent, Ron Palumbi, struck out and beat him by a pin. And it's taken Mark since then to really recover from that. He says he's ready. He's a former Golden Gloves champion, and he said he's ready to fight him off today. But the man I think they're going to have to beat is Marshall Holman. Marshall's fresh off his win at the Tournament of Champions. The only thing that he's never accomplished in the sport of bowling that he wants to is to win Bowler of the Year. If he wins the prestigious ABC Masters, he'll be well on his way to that goal.
All right, we have Pete Couture to challenge our amateur when action gets underway from Las Vegas here at the ABC Bud Light Masters in a moment. Our first matchup of the ABC Bud Light Masters, not a good one for the amateur, Jovito Buenrostro.
Very right, Tim. In the first frame, he throws the ball high, leaves the 3-6 spare, seemingly not too difficult a one. Throws the ball hard and straight at it, but chops the 3 off the 6. That put him in a hole right from the beginning. He was trailing throughout the match, but still close as he entered the 6th frame. In that frame, he throws the ball a little bit high and leaves the 4, 6, 7, 10, or double pinochle. He got 2 of those and fell even further behind. Then in the 8th frame, on a seemingly well-delivered shot, he throws the ball just a little high, pins flying all over the place, still couldn't even buy a strike as the 4-pin stands, and Jovito went down to defeat.
But it was a chance for momentum for a player that had been struggling throughout the last 2.5 years, Pete Couture.
Couture was on tune the whole game, throwing the ball straight in the pocket from around the 8th board, bowled a nice clean game and won it 213 to 180.
And as the 5th qualifier, Couture would get a second try in this tournament against Marshall Holman.
He's going to have a little more animated player in Marshall Holman than in Jovito. Couture, though, starts with the strike. That's the way you're supposed to.
Holman has really been categorized by most in this profession as the most charismatic of the modern-day bowlers.
Definitely, I think you could say that he's the most charismatic. And people usually either love Marshall or they hate him. It's somewhat like John McEnroe of tennis. You know. And right away, he heard something. Somebody dropped something in the back. Marshall makes a comment to whoever. Marshall's never shy about voicing his opinion.
This year alone, he's earned $81,410.
And he's going to be the leading money winner regardless of what happens.
He believes this could give him Bowler of the Year honors, championship here.
with a win. Goes high, breaks up the 4-7-10, leaving only the 4-pin. Marshall's happy with that. He's got the first shot out of the way. He was striking in the practice balls just a little slow. Just a little soft. The ball snaps right at the end. You're going to see a bunch of pins up there. And the 6-pin falls over and knocks out that 10 to break up that split. Marshall usually throws very hard and straighter at his spares. As at this one. Has it with no trouble.
And the Firestone champion of this year gets the spare at the first frame.
You know, when I won the Firestone in 1972, I was able to come back and win it 10 years later in 1982. Marshall won it in 1976, and when he came this year, he was thinking about that, seeing if he could do it 10 years later, and that was in his mind all during the week, and he wound up doing it. Trying to get that aggressive personality going here. And that's
good. I'd say he's into it, wouldn't you?
Well, that's just the beginning. Couture has to try and diffuse him right away. To beat Marshall Holman in a one-game match like this, Couture must get out of the gate quickly. At least that's my opinion. To come out here now and throw a strike right now and one behind it and put Holman in a hole. Good speed, but through the heart. Leaves the 6-10 just a little quick with his follow-through. He just kind of aimed that shot. He knew that, too, that he wanted to get Holman in a hole right away, and he just kind of steered that ball.
Pete is probably best remembered for winning the '83 Syracuse stop. He really didn't make the final cut, though, but when a bowler was disqualified, he got the 24th spot, took it all the way to the top.
PBA history in that. Cross lane at the 6-10.
Got it. Has been like a convention for bowling here at the Cashman Field Center.
It's quite an impressive setting to have a television show and a organized bowling tournament. Everybody always enjoys the ABC.
An atmosphere unlike most that you'd ever find in bowling during the course of any given year.
Gets the light hit.
So Pete is off to the kind of start he would need against Marshall.
Well, he didn't get that double in Turkey, so they're just even in the match right now. Holman now has the hammer in his hand. Not literally, it's not that ball, but he has a chance to take an early lead with a double here. Taking very little time.
A little high.
Both bowlers just tentative right now. Both bowlers just tentative. 3-6-10. Difficult spare, not easy at all. Anytime you got 3 or more up there, they get more tough.
Whether they be split or not, if you leave 3.
Well, it's a little easier than the split, but the 3-6-10 is never an easy spare. Again, he'll probably move left and throw with good speed. Now he's shooting it differently. Shot it off his strike target and did not convert it. It hooked, and he chops the 3 off the 6, leaving the 6-10. And right, he's put Couture ahead with Couture sitting on the bench. He played it off his strike line, different than I thought he would do. I thought he would move left and throw straight, and he'd throw a hook at it, and that's the result.
There you see the reaction of Marshall Holman, who will very quickly show you a reaction to any given shot.
Trying to recover some. Gives this one more room. It leaves a solid 8.
Boy, that one looked good all the way through. But
it was good, Tim. It's just a freak in bowling, but you see it quite often nowadays with the power shots, and you're going to watch the ball chop the 5 straight back off the 8 here, and boom. What they say is the only true tap in the sport of bowling, and I personally never have believed that. At the 8-pin, and has it.
So, Holman and Couture very close through 4 frames. Holman trails by 14. There you see the wide open spaces of the Cashman Convention Center at Las Vegas, Nevada, the site of the ABC Bud Light Championships. Tim Brando and Mike Durbin with you. We're Entering the fourth frame for Couture now.
Couture up 14 with the strike working, can increase it to 24 and really put Holman in the hole. Through the heart again, twice in a row in the right lane. The right lane must be breaking down and hooking more than the left. Both bowlers are going high on it. Leaves the 3-6, and another opportunity to really put the heat on Holman is wasted.
Couture has always done well at the Masters. He's made the cut 6 times.
And you see he's shooting this spare differently than Marshall Holman did. Moves way left and converts it. That's the way I would have thought Holman would have shot the 3-6-10, but he chose not to.
Right now, that could be the most pivotal shot of this,
Absolutely.
Of this game.
You sure are right, Tim. The 14 pins can disappear very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Fifth frame. Couture on lane 31.
And in the left lane, he leaves the 10 pin.
The weak 10. Been in the pocket every time on 31. 32 is the lane that's giving both bowlers trouble right now. Couture, if he converts this spare, will still be up by 13 pins, but Holman still has a chance to get his act together.
Born in Lewiston, Maine, now makes his home in Windsor Locks, Connecticut.
At the 10 pin, no trouble.
Yep.
And Holman asking for a re-rack on lane 32. At the ABC Masters tournament here, the bowlers are allowed 1 re-rack per game. If they request one further than that, the tournament director, Ed Bauer, has to take a look at it. And high again, and gets a lucky strike. And Holman plays to the crowd as he always does, but he is lost on the right lane.
Sort of a sarcastic gesture of ecstasy there from Marshall. He knew that he didn't necessarily deserve that one, but he'll take it.
But right now, let's see, the important thing is, can he take advantage of that lucky break? You don't get many of those. Remember, he had the bad break in the fourth frame when he left the solid 8. Trying for his first double. And solid 10. Boy, he gets the good break and then right back they hit you. That's the sport of bowling. Holman, unlike Couture, using a plastic or polyester ball, where Couture is using a urethane ball. At the 10 pin, hard and straight.
So now Marshall Holman hanging tough with Couture, down 13 pins as Couture now prepares for the 5th frame.
Couture in the first match against Ron Rostro had 2 doubles and was clean. And in this match, he's clean through 5 frames, but is still searching for his first double. We haven't had more than a double yet. Scores have been moderate.
6th frame now for Couture.
Light and gets that 5 pin out of there. Leaves only the 2-4, making the spare much easier. Lead is now 11 pins if he makes the spare, which should be a simple conversion for him. At the 2-4. Has it. The pins in the background. That's Del Ballard warming up, waiting to bowl the winner of this match.
It's got to be a little bit of a culture shock, Mike, when you've played so well and you've earned as much money during a career as he has, to have had the 2.5 years that he's had in this sport.
Oh, yes. It's a test of your character,
yep.
That's for certain. Lane 31.
10 pin left.
Is it going to hit it? It
No.
hit it, but didn't knock it over. That puts the match back in a 10-pin mode. In other words, if Couture makes this 10-pin, he is only 10 pins ahead. Going at a 196 clip, Holman going at a 186 clip. So still anybody's ball game, to use an old cliche.
Couture's last win was in Kansas City in 1982.
cross lane at the 10 pin.
So Couture continues to come up with the common spares. Still has a lead over Marshall Holman, thought by many to be the favorite here in Las Vegas.
$800-554-9000 for this special introductory offer. 13 weeks for just $29.50 with a money-back guarantee. 13 weeks, $29.50. Phone 800-554-9000 now for the Wall Street Journal.
There's Marshall Holman, 31 years of age and on top of his game. We're in the 7th frame from Las Vegas, the ABC Bud Light Masters.
Has not hit the pocket on this right lane yet. And leaves the 410 this time. Just has not been able to solve lane 32. Has been high every time. And he has to go for the split right now. I mean, he's in a situation where he was down 10 pins. If he makes this, he's still down 12. And he has to go for this.
Although he's been on top of his game, Mike, there are those that believe, you included, that this could be the biggest game of his career.
Well, if he wins this, it gets him loose. He could go on to win this tournament and achieve that goal of Bowler of the Year that he wants so badly, as he doesn't convert the splits, and he's really digging himself a hole now.
So an open frame in the 7th for Holman, down 23 pins.
Marshall, with 3 frames to go, as you say, is down by 23, and seems down in his spirit right now. He just can't get anything going. He's still potential, though, 203 if he would strike out.
In the pocket and clean.
Having no trouble with lane 31, been in the pocket every time on that lane, has not gotten close on 32. Couture, who only has 2 strikes in this game, though, is going at a 196 pace right now. So Holman's still, the old adage, if you can do it with a pencil, you can do it with a bowling ball, is still, Holman's still in the match. Couture, right, 245. Boy, neither bowler is able to solve lane 32. They're just a little high, a little high. Holman's been high every time. Couture at least uses a little variety.
Yeah. This is a big spare now for Couture.
Certainly is. 245, not the easiest spare in the world. And
got it.
Has it, boy, just barely. I'll tell you, that ball was sliding, and that 2-pin just nicked that 4. Watch the 2-pin, Tim. The ball is barely going to hit the 2-pin, and it just clips the 4 as it went by, and the 4 just slides off. It really never fell down. It just slid off the back end.
Couture up 20 pins now. 8th frame.
Ninth
frame
action. Trying for that foundation strike, and has it.
Boy, now that gives him now the opportunity to...
He cannot be shut out. What
right.
that does is that if Holman were to strike all the way out for that 203, Couture can still step up in the 10th frame and win the match. This is it. Right here. This is where crunch time. And something is bothering Marshall Holman. Something distracting his concentration. But this is a test of his greatness. He has not been close on this lane yet. Let's see if he can do it when it really counts. And, boy, he sure does. I tell you, that's what I say. You find out what they're made of then. That cuts a 20-pin deficit to 10. One more strike, and he is even in the match. And he has been in the pocket every time on lane 31. However, he left a solid 8 in the 4th frame and a solid 10 in the 6th frame.
And Pete Couture has to live with the fact that he had opportunities to put him away
earlier, right. Tenth frame to even the match. And a solid 10. Oh, he threw it great. Oh.
That's happened many times in this game to him. That 10-pin being left when seemingly he was in the pocket and had things going his way.
He was in the pocket. Watch the 6-pin. second from the right. It's going to just fly around the 10. We see the 10 pin there, and Holman has converted it. That will force Pete Couture to mark in the 10th frame. Holman, with a strike, will wind up with 182. Pete Couture going at a 193 clip would need a mark of some kind in the 10th frame to win the match. Boy, Holman threw that ball great, and it just didn't strike.
Got it.
This one does, though. Boy, that's the way bowling is so many times. That fill ball is always carries. Holman shows it what he thinks of it. It was just so important to him. Couture wants a re-rack. Holman going through some gyrations. He's just very, very upset right at this point. But it's a equally important ball for Pete Couture right now. Couture wins this game. He can go on and win the match or win the tournament and win $43,000.
Something he hasn't done in 4 years.
He needs a spare or a strike of some kind. And
there it is.
That's it.
Pete Couture upsets Marshall Holman in the second game of our ABC Bud Light Masters Championship. Now he will move on to take on Ballard.
Couture said last night that if he gets something going, the other guys better look out. And he's only had 3 doubles, 1 in this game and 2 in the other game. But he can go on to win $43,000 maybe. Leaves the 4-pin. He's going to wind up with 202 with a conversion, win by 20 pins. And Holman, even though he loses, will still be the leading money winner at the end of the winter tour now, or at the end of the ABC Masters. Takes over that spot from Walter Ray Williams.
And he does mark in that final frame, and obviously a very big moment for Pete Couture, who does advance. Del Ballard will take on Couture when we return to Las Vegas right after this. The second qualifier in our field of 5 is Del Ballard Jr. on the left, and Couture, after winning twice, would now meet Ballard, and we pick up the action in the 7th frame with Ballard up by 12 pins, Mike.
Right, and in this 7th frame, Del is making a change in angle. In the 5th frame, he played extremely outside between the 1st and 2nd arrow. He's moving in closer to the 4th arrow here and gets the wall shot, maintaining his 12-pin lead.
So he made the adjustment and got the necessary reaction.
I can't believe these young guys, as we see a replay here, moving in deep inside after he threw the shot before on this lane between the 1st and 2nd arrow. That ball was close to the 4th arrow and had enough drive on it to barely get out the 4, 5, and 7.
So now Couture is meeting up with a power player.
Chance to increase his lead to 22. Look at that head pin come back off the wall and get that 10 pin.
Is that the messenger strike?
That is what is known as the messenger strike. You've got it right. And we're going to see it here. The thing to watch here now and have our viewers watch is watch the head pin. The ball hits that head pin. The ball takes out the 5. The head pin goes to the sideboard, comes all the way back cross lane, and gets that 10 pin. Couture now heading into the 8th frame, down 22 pins.
He needs a strike right here.
Cut the lead to 12 if he can strike. Oh, threw it so well and left that 4-pin. The ball looked good all the way and just snapped at the back end, leaving the 4-pin. Couture, the picture of dejection there.
Remember now, though, Couture could do no worse than $20,000. He's only won $7,000 so far this year.
And we see the difference between the stroker Couture and the power player Ballard. Is Couture, his ball just tails at the end and leaves that 4-pin. Him playing around the 8th board, easily converts the 4-pin, keeping himself barely alive.
He knows it, too, doesn't he?
Certainly does. You can tell from the look on his face there. The situation is that Pete Couture can strike out for a 194. Del Ballard is going at a 196 pace. So a strike here for Couture is absolutely essential. He knows it too. All these bowlers can keep scores like calculators in their head. He's going to be a little high. Leaves the 4-7. The ball, he thought it was going to hold in the pocket, and it just hooked a little high. Really the picture of dejection now. Now he knows that he's in serious trouble. The best he can get right now is 182 if he would strike out.
There you see right there, he just
leaving the 4-7
in the high
ball run high. He's in trouble on the spare. Oh, and takes the 4 around the 7, looking off to the side. Somebody bothered him off to the side.
So he leaves the 7, and it's an open frame now for him in the 9th. That really opens the door now for Ballard to put him away.
That just handed the match to Del Ballard. Ballard just basically now has to keep the ball in the building in these last 2 frames. The best Couture can get is 171 if he gets all 3 strikes in the 10th frame. Del Ballard going at a 196 pace has an overwhelming lead right now with 2 frames to go.
Only 22 years old, the native of Richardson, Texas.
A little tight, leaves the 4-pin. He says that's just fine. Maintains his lead, which was 35, now is 34.
You know, he bowled well in Miami the 5th week of the tour, and he really, though, has questioned his intensity level from time to time. That's really been the only problem spot for him.
Converts that 4-pin easily, and he's going to be the winner to go on to the next match. He still has to show up here for the 10th frame, and he's definitely going to be the winner if he doesn't foul or throw the ball in the channel or some horrendous thing. And we have seen a couple fouls. We saw one last night.
Marshall Holman defeated him in the finals at Austin back in '83. He said, I'm the guy that snapped Holman's losing streak.
He was. Holman had not been able to win. Right through the heart of the pins, breaks up the split, leaves the 6-10, but that's enough. He's a winner, and he's going to go on to face Mark Fay.
And these are the same 2 men. We should mention that Fay and Ballard met in the qualifying last night, and it was Fay that did win, but it was a very, very close 4-game match.
That's right. Fay came on at the end shooting 230, 240 his last 2 games in order to win that 4-game match.
And there it is. Del Ballard getting the job done.
1 more strike and he'll finish with 193.
He's earned $31,488 in the past year. So far in '86, $22,000. But he'll better that this year, won't he?
Certainly will.
So Del Ballard, who qualified 2nd, will in fact take on the top qualifier, Mark Fay, when we return in just a moment. The championship match of the ABC Bud Masters is about to get underway. On the right of your screen there is Mark Fay.
And interesting, lane 32 has been the toughest lane for everybody so far. Mark Fay has chosen to finish on that lane. As these 2 young players, Mark Fay 28, Del Ballard 22, are about to bowl the most important game of each of their careers. Fay high, breaks up the split, leaves only the 3-pin.
Both of these men are considered power-type bowlers, and Fay himself is an admitted street fighter. He really battles you.
I thought it was so cute when you were interviewing him earlier, and he said he grew up that he was a mean kid, you know.
Ain't no bones about it, did he?
Right. He had 17 Golden Glove fights. He was 16-1. Said that the reason he gave it up is that even after he won, he spent 3 days in bed recovering. Ballard, that new inside line on lane 32, and he seems to have solved the difficult lane.
These 2 met last night in the qualifying rounds to determine 1st and 2nd today, and it was a very, very close 4 games that they put together.
And Mark Fay came on, shot 231, 245 his last 2 to win the 4-game match over Del Ballard. Ballard said that he never got his intensity level high enough, but he seems to be revved up now, and that adrenaline seems to be pumping. Trying for a quick early double. Comes in light. He's stuck at the foul line.
Yep.
Del Ballard slides a long way, leaves only the 2-pin. Good break there for Del. And again, once again, we see that no bowler is able to jump out to that early lead.
Well,
we could have see if he sticks here. Right there, something happens, and the ball definitely falls off balance to the right. Throws it straight, no hook at that spares, as so many of the power players are doing nowadays. They throw that great big hook at the first ball, but they throw it very, very straight on the second ball at spares.
Fay has won $16,000 this year to this point.
6 feet, 225 pounds. Takes a short approach.
And a heavyweight hit.
Exactly.
That added strength and power he uses, and uses well.
Mark Baker, another young power player on the tour, does the same thing. He's 6'4", about 215, 220. Finished second at the Tournament of Champions this year. Fay trying for a double and an early 10-pin lead.
And he got it. Yes. Well, that was a beauty. Much as the one preceding.
Watch him as he's playing, swinging it out wide of the second arrow, close to about the 6th board. The ball comes in flush in the 1-3 pocket. Ballard 10 pins behind. Trips that 4, so tough to do this week. Ballard now, who was having trouble on lane 32 and hitting 31, has switched it around. Now he's hitting 32 and cannot strike on 31.
His mom and dad took him around to bowling centers at the age of 5, and ever since then he is.
And that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah,
He's
17 years.
He's only 22.
He always knew this is what he wanted to do. How many kids that age really understand what they want?
To even the match. And does.
So it's Del Ballard Jr. and Mark Fay for the championship of the ABC Bud Light Masters from Las Vegas. We'll be right back. Fay qualified in the top spot for the ABC Bud Light Masters Championship. Now in the 4th frame.
Even in the match. Working on a double, trying for our first turkey of the day by anybody.
And has it. Yeah, 3 in a row for Fay. Well, we haven't seen
3 in a row before.
Not at all. Not at all. And that's the lane that has been giving most people the trouble.
Right.
The right lane.
And Fay, whose heart is beating 1,000 times a minute right now, tries to control his emotions, get himself under control to make one more good shot. Up by 10, can increase it to 20 if he can get one more. Working on 3 in a row. And has the 4-bagger. We got a little excitement here now, Tim.
I think he's beginning to feel it. We've got a couple of heavyweights throwing lefts and rights right at one another.
Del Ballard, 22 years old, has to respond to the pressure of the ABC Masters and being down 20 pins in the 5th frame of the final game. Working on a double. And
10 pin is left.
boy, threw it well. Just left that weak 10. Easy to do from that deep inside angle.
But the way Fay is playing right now, if you're Ballard, you got to be thinking strike almost every throw, don't you?
Exactly right, Tim. Right now he has to compartmentalize and get that concentration on converting the 10 pin.
Down 21.
No hook at all. Throws it straight, flattens his wrist out. I could see that future stardom is almost written all over this young player. He has all the shots. He can hook it. He can throw it straight. He's developing into a good spare shooter. And he seems to be able to respond to the pressure situations. And those are the departments that you have to be able to master and become proficient at to become a star in the sport of bowling. Down 21 pins, 6th frame. Something happened to just distract his concentration. At 22, he has the composure to step off the approach and not go through that shot.
that one really comes at a very handy time.
Trips that 4-pin twice in this match now. He's tripped that 4-pin. And that just doesn't happen that often. Look at the concentration. Very square as he goes to the line. He's rooting in. Watch the 2-pin. Goes to the wall. And just the neck of it just nicked the butt of the 4-pin. Fay working on 4 in a row. 21 up. Trying to put the nails in his coffin right now. He's there. 5 in a row.
Gotta be hard to stop that man.
31 pins ahead. And you could hear the crowd, which is estimated to be about 880 in the building, murmuring in the background. Ballard sitting there fiddling with his rosin bag, knowing that he's got to throw strikes to have a chance against this man.
PBA Rookie of the Year in 1981, Mark Fay.
Ooh, he gave that one a lot of room. It's not going to make it. He just rushed the line that time, left the 1-2-4. Just didn't want the ball to go high. He just rushed the line, reared up the line.
Almost a feeling of relief, though. Every time a bowler will string 3, maybe 4, or perhaps even running that 6 or 7 roll, it's almost good to get it over.
Concentration together now to convert this spare. And he's done it. 1-2-4 is made and in the bank.
So the youngster from the northwest side of Chicago rolled his way to a 28-pin lead through 7 frames in Las Vegas. There may be high rollers over on the strip of Las Vegas, but right now all of the rolling for the high stakes at the ABC Bud Masters Championship is taking place right here. Del Ballard needs a strike here, trailing by 28 pins.
Can cut it to 18 if he can double. And pulled it, just turned the ball early, went high, left the 3-pin. Pete Couture comes up behind us and looks at all these strikes. He says, "Is this the same pair I bowled on?" He says. Ballard's in big trouble. Has to make the spare. Has it. But he's just running out of frames. Still down 28 pins as we head for the 8th frame. Ballard going at a 209 pace right now. And Mark Fay going at a 237 pace. Ballard is still potential 239 if he would strike out, but he's got to get going something again. I don't know whether it's in his wrist or whether something else is distracting. It looks like something physical. And now a phone is ringing, and it's not E.T. calling. And gets that light hit. He answered the phone.
Yeah. That strike from the stratosphere there coming through for him. Well, he needed it because you got to believe Fay, though he didn't strike, he did come through with the spare he needed last time. He's really bowling better than anyone we've seen today to this point.
There's the tendency, though, when you get way ahead, though, that you start playing defensive, you know, and you start trying to hold on to that lead rather than increase it. And he gives this one a lot of room. It's not coming back either. Breaks it up, leaves the 1-2. Could have had. That was the exact same shot that he threw in Tucson in 1984 when he left the 1-2-4-8-10 to get 5 and lose that match. It was a similar shot, just like that.
That match that he lost, he said, cost him a year in progress in this sport.
Ahead by 26 if he makes the 1-2. And he is in trouble. He missed it.
Boy, the open frame now again opens the door for Ballard.
Pressure. You see, that's what pressure does to you. Now, can he regain his composure? A relatively easy spare. He didn't want to go wide again. He's playing defensive, Tim. That's exactly what's happening. 9th frame, his lead is down to 15 pins, and his concentration is jangled right now. He's got to get his composure back. A lot of room against coming up. Leaves only the 5-pin. But you see the difference in the aggressive style and the defensive style. He puts his hands down to calm down. You're still in the lead. But I tell you, his destiny is not his own right now.
Yep, he's still plus 15 now as we go into the 9th frame.
But you see, even if he converts this, the best he can get is 234. Yep. If Del Ballard, and he just got the 5-pin. If Del Ballard would strike out, he would wind up with 239. Del Ballard can control his own destiny. Right now, he trails still in the match by 15 pins. He knows that Fay has lost his concentration somewhat. He knows that the match is his for the taking if he can do it. Oh, and he just pulled it, left the Greek church with the 4, 6, 7, 9, 10, and it's just a matter of two young men and the pressure being enormous. He just never got out of this ball clean. Knew it was trouble from the time he let it go. He's looking at it right through the heart. He's got to go for it. He's got to aim at the 3 pins on the right, the 6, 9, 10. Hit the 6 pin thin and hope it goes over and does some damage. And he hit it just right, but he got a horrible result. And he's almost entirely handed the match to Mark Fay.
The atmosphere, Mike, is so different here than we're used to seeing here in a convention center with the wide open spaces. Does it affect these players? It seems like we've had a lot of atmospheric problems.
It's the pressure that affects him. He's got 173 in the ninth. The best he can get is 203. Mark Fay is going to be the winner.
And there's a strike for Ballard.
Mark Fay just needs to keep the ball on the lane in the 10th frame. In fact, if Del Ballard does not strike on this ball, Mark Fay doesn't even need to show up for the 10th frame. He's a winner without showing up. You see how quickly everything can change in the sport of bowling and how enormous the pressure can be for one shot. And that's it. The best he gets is 193. Mark Fay has 194 if he doesn't show up. So Mark Fay is going to be the winner of the 1986 Bud Light Masters and has gotten the monkey off his back of losing in Tucson 2 years ago, and maybe this will spur him on to really be an outstanding champion on the PBA Tour.
And for Ballard, a second place finish.
And Ballard is just so unhappy with himself for that 9th frame shot. He had his chance.
Last time he finished second, it was to Marshall Holman in '83.
Fay just keeping the ball on the lane, leaves the 5-8. That's enough.
Yep. Very disgruntled Del Ballard, but Fay just had to stave off the pressure somewhat in the last few frames of this game.
Well, that ball can get awful heavy as he's going to miss. No, he got up to get that spare. Just barely got the 5 pin. He's going to finish with 222 if he strikes, which is our high score of the day. We didn't have a lot of 200s. We had a 213 by Couture in the first match, a 202 by Couture in the second, and Fay's 222 if he strikes here.
And he got it. Fitting way to end the ABC Bud Light Masters champion. It's Mark Fay from the northwest side of Chicago. We'll chat with him when we return right after this. Welcome back to Las Vegas, everyone. And ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you the ABC Bud Light Masters champion, Mark Fay. Mark, I know you really felt badly after you lost a championship final a few years ago. How do you feel now after this huge, huge win?
It hasn't sunk in yet. I'm so nervous. I'm shaking so bad. It feels great. I don't know how to describe this feeling. It's wonderful.
It's a knockout punch, huh?
It's a knockout punch. No doubt about it. It feels great.
Mike, I know you've got some questions about his game today.
First of all, I want to say congratulations. You got the monkey off your back now.
Yeah.
You had 5 in a row there, and then all of a sudden it seemed like you started playing defensively. What went through your mind then?
Well, Mike, the adrenaline was flowing so hard. I just kept on pulling up at the line and just no release at all. I just letting the ball go. I couldn't keep my body paced down. I just kept on speed, running up to the line and letting them go. I fell apart there the last 3 shots. Adrenaline was flowing so fast I couldn't stop myself.
Well, you managed to do it somewhat. You missed that spare in the 8th frame then, and I could see you putting your palms down to try and calm down. What were you telling yourself then?
Just walk slow, take your time. Don't worry, don't rush. Just go through the ball. Just stroke the ball. I was just trying to get myself back into the pace I had in the first 6 shots. You know, I was throwing the ball great, and then I just started speeding, wearing up. I mean, I just lost everything. I came back, and I just kept on telling myself to slow down.
Felt a little better when he left that big split in the 9th frame, huh?
Well, I knew it really helped. If he would have got a strike there, it would have been a whole new ball game. I know that, but it took a lot of pressure off when I saw that.
Well, congratulations, Mark. You bowled great.
Thanks, Mike.
Mark, you can calm down a little bit now, and I've got just the man to calm you down, perhaps. Don Meyer, who is the brand manager for Bud Light. He's got a nice little check for you, right, Don?
Yes, we sure do. Mark, on behalf of Bud Light, we've enjoyed being a part of the Bud Light ABC Masters. And on behalf of Anheuser-Busch and Bud Light, we would like to present to you this check for $43,600.
Thank you.
And, of course, to add with the festivities, this lovely trophy will now be presented by the president of the American Bowling Congress, Joe Dahl. Joe?
Mark, on behalf of the American Bowling Congress, we present to you the Frank Baker Championship Trophy, and congratulations.
Thank you very, very much.
You betcha.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to thank ABCs. I'd like to thank Bud Light for a great tournament. I hope next year I'd come right back in Niagara Falls and do it again. Thank you. You've been great.
All right. Thank you, Mark. Mark Fay, the champion of the Masters category here at the ABC tournament here in Las Vegas. So, indeed, a very festive occasion here. And, gosh, we have to talk about what it means, Mike, for a guy like Fay to come up with this championship, certainly one that he had needed.
Well, I think it can be an impetus to his career, obviously. Mark Fay has had potential star written all over him, and we can see from his background that he's definitely a fighter. And now, maybe with this win, he can gain that confidence that it takes to go out and become a real superstar on the PBA Tour.
Mike, it was my first run through, and thank you very much. I enjoyed it.
My pleasure, Tim.
All right, so the ABC Bud Light Masters Championship is history. Mark Fay, our champion. The ABC Bud Light Masters has been brought to you by Bud Light, the light beer with the first name and taste. Everything else is just a light. For Mike Durbin, this is Tim Brando saying so long from Las Vegas, Nevada.